Linda Carroll Brown Thompson was a pivotal figure in the American Civil Rights Movement, whose role as a plaintiff in the landmark Supreme Court case Brown versus Board of Education exemplified the struggle against racial segregation in public schools and highlighted the broader fight for equality and justice in the United States. Linda Carroll Brown was the oldest of three daughters of Leola and Oliver Brown. She was born in Topeka, Kansas on February 20th, 1943. Her father, Oliver Brown, was a welder and a pastor, and he was an assistant minister at St. Mark's African Methodist Episcopal Church. Linda Brown had to walk to about a mile to her segregated school, despite a white school being much closer to her home. In a 1985 interview, she states, "I remember the walk as being very long at that time, and then when the wintertime came, it was a very cold walk. I remember walking, tears freezing up on my face because I began to cry because it was so cold." In an article from the Washington Post titled "Linda Brown Thompson, Girl at the Center of Brown versus Board of Education Case Dies" by Harrison Smith on March 26, 2018, he states, "Miss Brown, a third grader who simply wanted to avoid a long walk and a bus ride and join her white friends in class, went on to become the symbolic center of Brown v. Board of Education, the transformational 1954 Supreme Court decision that bore her father's name and helped dismantle racial segregation in the United States. As a third grade student, Linda's parents attempted to enroll her at a nearby Sumner Elementary School and were denied due to the color of her skin. This led to her parents joining a group of civil rights lawsuits coordinated and supported by the National Association for the Association of Colored People, the NAACP. The NAACP played a crucial role in organizing and supporting the legal efforts to challenge racial segregation in public schools. In his lawsuit, Brown claimed that schools for black children were not equal to the white schools and that segregation violated the so-called Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, which holds that no state can deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. The case went before the U.S. District Court in Kansas, which agreed that public school segregation had a detrimental effect upon the colored children and contributed to a sense of inferiority, but it still upheld the separate but equal doctrine. At first, the justices were divided on how to rule on school segregation, with Chief Justice Fred N. Vinson holding the opinion that the Plessy verdict should stand. But in September of 1953, before the case was to be heard, Vinson died, and President Dwight D. Eisenhower replaced him with Earl Warren, who was the governor of California at the time. The new Chief Justice succeeded in creating a unanimous verdict against school segregation the following year. Ultimately, in 1954, the Supreme Court ruled that separate but equal was unconstitutional and overturned the Plessy v. Ferguson decision. According to an article titled "Brown v. Board of Education" on History.com, which was last updated on February 27, 2024, in the decision issued on May 17, 1954, Warren wrote that in the field of public education, the doctrine of separate but equal has no place, as segregated schools are inherently unequal. Even though, by the time this case was decided, she was in the 8th grade, the fight was not for nothing, because it had a huge impact for children everywhere to be able to receive quality education. Linda Carroll Brown Thompson was a wife, mother, champion for equity in education, a civil rights activist, a public speaker, and an education consultant, and a Head Start teacher and a program associate in the Brown Foundation, according to an article titled "Commemorating the Life and Legacy of Linda Carroll Brown Thompson," written by the NAACP. In 1961, she had graduated from Central High School in Springfield, Missouri, and then earned a degree in early childhood education from Kansas State University. She returned to Topeka and began teaching private piano lessons, but eventually went on to work with the Brown Foundation, which was founded in her name. During her time with the foundation, she helped establish 3 libraries for preschool children. She then reopened her case against the Kansas Board of Education in 1979 while her own children were attending schools there, arguing that segregation continued and was again victorious with the appeals court ruling in her favor in 1993. In an article titled "Linda Brown" by Kelsey Davis on November 24, 2018, she writes, "Brown was married 3 times, first to Charles Smith in 1963, whom she divorced, to later marry Leonard Buckner. Buckner passed away in the 1980s, and Linda then married William Thompson. Linda Brown passed away on March 25, 2018 in Topeka, Kansas. Linda dedicated much of her life to being an activist and making a change in the world. In conclusion, Linda Carroll Brown Thompson's legacy extends far beyond her childhood journey to school. As a courageous plaintiff in Brown v. Board of Education, she not only challenged the systemic injustices of her time, but also became a symbol of hope and resilience for generations to come. Through her work with the Brown Foundation and her advocacy of children's rights, Linda continued to fight for the principles established in her historic ruling.